Good morning. Welcome to First Local. This 11:30 a.m. edition is brought to you by KC Security. Coming live to you from Rideau Cottage, the Prime Minister will address Canadians on the COVID-19 situation. Once we see him appear to the podium, we will flip over to him. Until then, let's update you on some news that's going on this morning. Les Oeufs Richard Eggs Incorporated has recalled eggs due to possible salmonella contamination. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says the recall affects products sold in Ontario and Quebec. The agency says products with the expiry dates of December 18th, 22nd, 24th, 26th, and 30th, as well as January 1, 2021, are included in the recalls. Those dates include eggs under the Les Oeufs Richard Eggs Incorporated brand, the Nutra brand, and medium-size no-name brand. People are advised not to consume, serve, or sell these eggs. The agency says no illnesses have been reported from the recalled products. And baby spinach is also under watch at the moment. The Fresh Attitude brand is being recalled in Ontario and Quebec as well over salmonella contamination again. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says VegPro International has recalled the products that were sold in the two provinces. Customers are advised not to eat the spinach, and agency says the 312 gram and 142 gram products with best before dates of the 4th and 5th of December are included in the recall. No illnesses have been reported related to the recalled spinach. Again, we are waiting for the Prime Minister to approach the podium at Rideau Cottage. Once we see him at the podium, we will throw to him for a COVID-19 update. Today at 8:45 in the morning, members from the Espanola detachment of the Ontario Provincial Police responded to a collision on Highway 17, approximately 1 kilometer west of Highway 6. Highway 17 is expected to be closed for several hours while the OPP investigates this collision, and motorists are asked to please obey the road closure signs. The investigation is continuing, and further information will be provided once available. And now over to Toronto. So we're building the Blue Jays a brand new home, apparently. It's been a conversation for years now, and it appears a plan that is in the works. The proposal from Rogers Communications is to reportedly demolish the Rogers Centre and construct a new ballpark in its place. Rogers and Brookfield Asset Management want to transform the huge parcel of land as part of a whole downtown redevelopment. Plans for a new natural grass baseball-focused stadium would take up the southern end of the current property, with residential towers, office buildings, stores, and public space planned for the northern portion. The current ballpark remains one of only two left in Major League Baseball that uses artificial turf instead of real grass. It is believed that the ultimate goal is for ownership to keep the new stadium downtown. Rogers is also reportedly exploring some waterfront options as a backup plan. This multi-billion-dollar plan would be privately funded through Rogers, and Brookfield are working with all three levels of government on this project. The current facility opened its doors in 1989 for the low price of $570 million. It was the first stadium to have a fully retractable roof. Design of the Skydome, as it was once named, came just ahead of MLB teams moving away from larger, concrete-heavy stadiums to move towards more open-air, retro-classic ballpark looks. According to media outlets, government officials and the two companies intend to go public with their plans in the new year. Again, we are waiting for the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, to approach the podium and speak about COVID-19 updates. He is coming to you from Rideau Cottage, and once we see the Prime Minister approach the podium, we will throw to him. Some more news before we hit a commercial break. Indigenous people occupying a proposed construction site near Caledonia are appealing an order to leave. In October, a judge granted a development company a permanent injunction against the occupants of a camp known as 1492 Land Back Lane. One of them, Skylar Williams, was ordered to pay a cost of more than $168,000. The appeal documents argue the court was unfair to Williams and did not properly consider his evidence. The group maintains a housing development near Six Nations of the Grand River is an unceded Indigenous land. They want the injunction set aside and say they will stay until that's decided. The documents served on lawyers for Foxgate Development, Inc., Haldimand County, and the Attorney Generals of Ontario and Canada give notice of the appeal related to the Mackenzie Meadows development. Williams maintains the judge would not allow him to represent himself in court or present constitutional arguments while he and others were deemed in contempt of previous orders to leave the land. The documents also ask that Williams be given leave to present fresh evidence and argue the decision on costs against him was exorbitant and painfully wrong. Police have arrested more than 30 people since the occupation began in July. Ontario's police watchdog agency says 7 investigators are probing an incident in which a child was shot dead and 2 others, including an officer, injured. 3 officers have been designated as a subject officer, meaning they are under potential criminal investigation. The incident, which apparently followed an alleged child abduction, occurred Thursday in the Kawartha Lakes. The Special Investigations Unit also says 3 officers shot at a 33-year-old driver after his car crashed into a cruiser, injuring the officer. His 1-year-old son in the back seat was killed. The agency says 4 investigators, 2 forensic investigators, and a collision reconstructionist are probing the incident. Again, we are going to throw to a commercial shortly, but what we're waiting for here is Prime Minister Trudeau to approach the podium to update the nation on COVID-19. We will be right back after this commercial break.
Hi, Weather Daniel here with your On TV Weather Minute for Friday, November 27th. We are just about at the weekend, and we're going to take a look outside and what's going on our wirelesscom.ca camera. We've got a different view today of the bush plane, and we're going to have a mixed bag today. So the sun's going to be out. We're going to see some rain showers, possibly mixed in with snow before everything cools down overnight tonight with a wind chill of -7 overnight. And what we're looking at for the weekend, 5 degrees Saturday and Sunday, mix of sun and cloud. We're dropping down to -1 on Monday with the same story with a mix of sun and cloud. Then we see the snow move in next week, Wednesday and Thursday, high of 3 on Thursday. We're looking at some accumulation of 2 to 4 centimeters at this point. Overnight lows will dip down as well to -5 for a few nights. Have a great day, everybody. This has been your On TV Weather Minute.
You know what? You got spunk.
Well, I hate spunk.
A message from the Government of Canada.
Welcome back to First Local. This 11:30 edition is brought to you by Casey Security, and we thank you for your sponsorship. We are waiting for the Prime Minister. I'm not too sure what's taken him so long this morning, but I assure you we will throw to him when we see him. He is updating us on COVID-19 situation, and he's coming from Rideau Cottage. In the meantime, I'm going to return to some news to keep you informed. A multi-vehicle collision slowed traffic Thursday afternoon. At approximately 2:30, emergency services were called to the corner of Wellington Street and 2nd Line. Upon arrival, they came across 3 vehicles which had collided, with one blocking the curbside eastbound lane of 2nd Line. Services remained on scene for approximately an hour. There was no word on injuries at the time of publish. However, one ambulance was witnessed departing the scene. And now we are going to throw over to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau for a COVID-19 update.
Bonjour à tous.
Welcome, everyone.
Highest number of daily COVID-19 cases ever. This week, Alberta saw their biggest cases ever, too. People on the East Coast are facing new cases and travel restrictions. And across the country, hundreds more families are grieving the loss of someone they loved. We're in some of the toughest days of this pandemic. Winter is coming. We're being driven indoors. We can't sit on patios and terraces like we used to. We're going to have to hold on tight. We're going to have to be there for each other by keeping our distances from each other. Avoid gatherings, follow local public health rules, and know that we're going to get through this winter. Vaccines are on the horizon. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. But we need to do what we can right now to make it through these coming months. Hier soir, j'ai tenu...
Last night, I held my 22nd virtual meeting with the premiers of the provinces and territories to discuss the common efforts we are making. During our meeting, we spoke of our response to COVID-19, namely the measures we're taking to support businesses and people who are facing targeted closures, as well as support to hard-hit communities and our vaccination plan. I will first talk about our response to COVID-19. Our government has already provided more than $25 billion to the provinces and territories, namely to help them improve ventilation in schools and to purchase PPE.
Hundreds of millions of pieces of PPE, over 5.2 million rapid tests, with more to come, and invested over $25 billion to help the provinces and territories fight COVID-19. We expect that this support gets to people and communities, because that's who it's for, and that's where it makes a difference. Just look at what federal funding through the Safe Restart Agreement has meant to folks in Portage-la-Prairie, Manitoba. The city used part of their funding to help business owners who were having troubles with property costs. It made a big difference for local employers and their employees during a really difficult time. Businesses, cities, and provincial governments are facing tough choices about public health measures. Our government is here to help. In fact, this is something the premiers and I discussed during our First Minister's meeting yesterday. Already, our government has provided additional targeted support to communities facing significant outbreaks, and we're ready to do more as needed. As I discussed with Premier Savikatak earlier this week, our government is providing over $19.3 million in additional emergency support for Nunavut. This will go towards everything from more PPE and healthcare staff to getting healthy food on people's plates.
Lastly, the premiers and I talked about vaccination. Together, the federal government, the provinces, and the territories have been working on this since the month of May. We know that we must establish a joint plan if we want to offer a safe and effective vaccine to Canadians as quickly as possible. Given that we're receiving more and more promising news about vaccine candidates, we're accelerating this work. During our meeting, Minister Leblanc gave more details about our plan. As our experts explained yesterday, we are expecting to obtain millions of doses of vaccine against COVID-19 early next year, with doses for all Canadians during the course of the year. We will be working with the provinces and territories and with Indigenous communities to determine how we're going to distribute these doses. And we are going to ensure that we follow the advice of the experts of our various advisory groups that are made up of the very best scientists in the field in this country. All of our decisions are guided by the recommendations of the best experts and scientists.
Canada is well prepared for large-scale rollouts of vaccines, but this will be the biggest immunization in the history of the country. We must reach everyone who wants a vaccine, no matter where they live. Right now, we're working closely with the provinces and territories as well as Indigenous communities to ensure readiness to receive and distribute these vaccines. To assist in this process, we are standing up a National Operations Centre through the Public Health Agency of Canada with the support of the Canadian Armed Forces to coordinate logistics and distribution of vaccines. Major General Danny Fortin will be heading up the logistics and operations within this centre. Major General Fortin is a seasoned officer, the Chief of Staff of Canadian Joint Operations Command, and served as commander of NATO mission in Iraq. The Canadian Armed Forces will assist on planning, including to meet challenges like cold storage requirements, data sharing, and reaching Indigenous and rural communities. For our part, the federal government has already purchased freezers to work for specific vaccine candidates. This will be a major effort, but together, Canada can and will do this. In our meeting, the Premier spoke about the need to work in partnership with the federal government. They also brought up the fact that in certain cases they will need support to ensure that everyone is reached, including vulnerable people and Indigenous people. When a vaccine is ready, Canada will be ready. We're in this together, and the more we work as a team, the better we'll do. So to everyone, to all Canadians, continue to wear a mask, keep your distance, and wash your hands. Avoid large gatherings. And don't forget about one of the easiest ways to join the Team Canada effort by downloading the COVID Alert app. Over 5.5 million people are now using the app, and just yesterday, the Northwest Territories was the latest to bring COVID Alert fully on board. No matter where you live, even if you're in the North or the Atlantic where cases are fairly low, download COVID Alert. This is literally a tool in your pocket to fight this virus. Aux jeunes.
To our young people, if you haven't yet done so, download the COVID Alert on your phone. And if your parents or your grandparents are having difficulty downloading it, give them a hand, like you often do, helping them to unmute their Zoom. We can all contribute to ensuring the safety of those around us.
Across the country, I have a teenager and a preteen at home, and I can tell you they're always on their devices. Young people need to download the COVID Alert app. It's a way of helping your parents, your grandparents. It's a way of making sure that you're doing your part, hassle-free, to protect yourself and your community from COVID-19. It'll take a second to download. It's free. It protects your privacy, and it helps concretely in combating this virus. So please do your part. Download the app and help your parents and grandparents download it as well. We're over 25% uptake in terms of available smartphones, but we can do even better than that. As we look towards the coming months, we need to use all the tools we have, and COVID Alert is yet another tool in our toolbox. This morning, I also want to speak about something else we're doing to keep people safe and set everyone up for success. This coming January will mark a year since Bill C-92 came into effect to affirm the rights of First Nation, Inuit, and Métis Nation communities to exercise jurisdiction over their children and families. This co-developed legislation is about putting kids first, having fewer children in care, and reuniting more families. To do that, Indigenous communities must be in the driver's seat. Since January, we've worked with partners to move forward on the reforms needed to child and family services. And today, we're taking the next step in this process. Our government is investing $542 million to Indigenous communities to exercise full jurisdiction over child and family services. This is vital to moving forward on our promise to address the unacceptable injustices that too many kids and families have faced in the care system. Aujourd'hui,
Today, I can announce that our government will be investing $542 million in Indigenous communities to help them exercise their full jurisdiction over family and child services. This investment is on top of the more than $3 billion that we've already invested in order to offer predictable, flexible, and long-term funding aimed at ensuring the delivery and modernization of care services for families and children. Our government will continue to work in partnership with Aboriginal communities in order to fill the existing gaps and to move forward on the road to reconciliation. In conclusion, I wish to underscore that we are now less than a month away from the holiday season. I know that December will be difficult for a lot of people, but don't forget that the present situation isn't permanent. There is light at the end of the tunnel. In the meantime, we must hold on a little longer. Those working in our hospitals, in long-term healthcare facilities, in schools and grocery stores need our help to ensure their safety. Their families are counting on us to help them ensure the safety of their mother, their brother, or their daughter. So follow your local public health guidelines, wear your mask, wash your hands, keep your distance, and avoid gatherings. Download the COVID Alert app, and don't forget that you aren't alone.
For a business owner, you don't have to face this crisis alone. If you need support while you look for work, we've introduced the Canada Recovery Benefit and enhanced EI. If you need to take care of a family member or stay home from work because you're sick, we've created the Canada Recovery Caregiving Benefit and the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit. If you own a small business, we've launched new support on rent, expanded the Canada Emergency Business Account loans, and extended the wage subsidy. On Monday, we'll be releasing our fall economic statement. We'll have more to say then about what else we're doing to support you through this pandemic and rebuild a strong, resilient economy for everyone. But for now, I want you to know that we're here for you, for today, for tomorrow, for as long as we need to get through this. We have your back. Merci.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Merci, Monsieur le Premier ministre. On va commencer la conférence aujourd'hui avec le téléphone. Opérateur, c'est à vous.
Thank you. Merci. Première question, Émilie Bergeron.
First question, Émilie Bergeron. Yes. Good morning, Mr. Trudeau. In English, you stated that we're expecting that the support we provide will reach people. What were you referring to? Are you thinking about rapid testing that Quebec isn't using yet? For several months now, we've been hearing to what extent it's important to have rapid testing, and the federal government has done its work, approving tests, purchasing test kits, delivering them to provinces. I can understand that there are strategic steps as to how to deploy these tests in order to maximize their impact. We're there to work with the provinces to give them advice as well if they do need suggestions as to how to deliver and use these rapid test kits for a maximum effectiveness.
Many months, how important it is to get new and different types of testing, including rapid tests. So we approved a range of new rapid tests, and over the past months have sent hundreds of thousands, actually sent millions of rapid tests to various provinces. They are being deployed in certain places in innovative and strategic ways, and in other places they're still determining exactly how best to deploy them. We are there with advice and counsel and recommendations if provinces need help in getting those rapid tests out in the best possible way to maximize the impact that it'll have on bending the curve and keeping people safe.
En suivi, Émilie?
Follow up? Yes. I don't quite understand. You seem to have concerns, worries? You're concerned that the assistance you're sending out isn't reaching people, and I would like to know more about the freezers that Ottawa has purchased, the 126 freezers. Might there be problems, delays with delivery? In other words, we know that there's a lot of competition out there in the world to obtain these freezers. Are they going to get to us in time for the doses that are going to have to be stored before being distributed? Very good question. We know that for some vaccines, the temperatures for storage are minus 70 degrees. So these freezers are very specialized pieces of equipment. We've purchased some. We've received some of them already. Others are going to be delivered. We're very confident that we will have the necessary equipment once the vaccines are here.
Question on the phone?
Thank you. Merci. Next question, Christy Kirkup, The Globe and Mail. Line open.
Hello, Prime Minister. This month, the Public Health Agency quietly updated its guidelines around aerosol transmission of COVID-19. And I'm wondering why your government hasn't been more forceful in the message on aerosols, so perhaps Canadians might better understand how COVID-19 is spread.
We've always known that there are greater challenges in enclosed spaces. The need for ventilation was something that we put forward this summer when we sent money to the provinces to help out with the back to school that included money that could be used for upgrading ventilation systems. So there has been a lot of science over the past year talking about the various impacts of potential aerosol transmission. We're going to continue to rely on the best advice of our doctors and scientists, of experts around that. We're going to continue to make sure that they are guiding the recommendations we put forward and how we put them forward.
Following up, Kirsty?
And I'm just wondering, Prime Minister, if you can bring me into the room with you and members of your team, even when physical distancing is in place, when you're inside with members of your team, do you wear masks?
Most of the time we do. We know that it's important to try and wear masks indoors as much as possible. Obviously, when we're in situations where an individual is speaking into a microphone, we tend to try and take off the masks, but many people will, throughout the course of a meeting, wear a mask for the entire time, even if there is appropriate physical distancing. We're all trying to follow the best advice of our public health officials. It's not easy, and I know people are getting tired of it, but we've got a few more months to hang on through this winter where we all need to do our part and make sure we're trying to flatten this curve across the country so we can get to spring in the best possible case as the vaccines start to arrive.
Merci. Opérateur, on va prendre une dernière question au téléphone.
A final question on the phone? Next question. Mélanie Marquis, La Presse. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Trudeau. Premier Legault stated yesterday that he wanted a date for the delivery of the first doses of vaccine. Yesterday, when you spoke with him, did you give him a date? And if not, what did you tell him? Well, first of all, I underscore to what extent it's essential that we work together, the premiers of the provinces and the federal government, because we can only deliver these vaccines to citizens if we work together alongside provinces and territories. So we're providing them with all of the information we have. The great challenge is that we did an excellent job with a very diversified portfolio of various vaccines, the best potential vaccine portfolio in the world. And we have a high number of doses, a higher number of doses per citizen than any other country. But because of this, or rather we did this because we know that it's a new vaccine. Several companies are developing vaccines. We will see challenges with manufacturing, with delivery in some cases. That's always the case. So we wanted to maximize our chances of being able to deliver vaccines to Canadians. There is certainly a desire to get to the starting gate as quickly as possible, and I can understand that as well. But we also have to talk about what's going to happen when we reach the end of the game. And our experts are saying that if everything goes well, we have a good chance of vaccinating the majority of Canadians between now and next September. So we're very well positioned, but we are going to continue to work with the provinces with all of the necessary information in order that everyone be able to do his or her share to deliver for Canadians in this difficult situation. With regard to vaccination, the public health authorities yesterday announced that 3 million Canadians approximately, that's 8% of the population, will be vaccinated in the first quarter of 2021. Do you deem that this is satisfactory? For January, February, and March, our experts worked very hard not only to sign contracts with a maximum number of companies, but also to ensure that we could approve them, to ensure that they're safe for Canadians and deliver them as quickly as possible. We know that it's an extremely complex issue, but we're going to be ready as soon as the vaccines start arriving. They'll be approved and they'll be delivered in a safe way in partnership with the provinces and territories because we know that we must move quickly.
Bertrand Oliver with CTV National News. Canadian officials yesterday said that a decision on the Pfizer vaccine could come in just about 2 weeks. The Americans say that they'll get vaccination started within 48 hours of approval. So why can't you provide a timeline to Canadians on vaccine delivery and rollout, especially if we're just talking about weeks?
We are working extremely hard on approving vaccines. Our health experts, our scientists are engaged in rolling approvals of the 3 top vaccine candidates, including Pfizer. We are hopeful that things are going to happen quickly, but at the same time, we need to reassure Canadians and we need to be able to say confidently that these vaccines are safe, which is why we're very interested in what people around the world are doing. But Canadian experts and Canadian scientists will be driving the safety of Canadians every step of the way.
But again, officials said that they will likely make a decision on Pfizer around the same time as the Americans, which is right now slated for December 10th, which means we could have a vaccine decision in 2 weeks. And I'm wondering if it's just weeks, why did you only now appoint a general to oversee vaccine delivery? This is something the Americans did in the spring. Why did it take so long?
We have continued to work with the provinces on vaccine delivery and logistics since last spring. We've been engaged, understanding that a vaccine was the way we were going to get through this pandemic. And that's why, from the beginning, we signed one of the most diverse range of contracts of any country in the world for more doses per capita than any other country around the world. We are ensuring that Canadians will be protected and will be helped through this pandemic in the best possible way. We have a strong plan that works with the provinces, and we're going to continue to make sure that every step of the way we're there to deliver for Canadians. I can understand the eagerness with which people want to know, when is this going to be over? When are we going to get the vaccines? What we can say is we are working extremely hard to deliver as quickly and as safely as possible. And I know people are really eager to find out, when are we going to get to that starting line? When are we going to start giving people vaccines? And we're working as hard as we can to make that as quickly as possible. But at the same time, what really matters is when we get to cross the finish line. And the fact that the doctors highlighted that if all goes according to plan, we should be able to have the majority of Canadians vaccinated by next September puts us in very good stead. We're going to continue to do everything we can to deliver for Canadians, listening to experts, working with top people to make sure that we're doing this right and quickly and safely for all Canadians.
We know that people want to know when they'll be able to get vaccinated. People are eager to know when we'll be finished with this pandemic. I understand you. We agree that this must be done as quickly as possible, but it has to be safe as well. This is why our experts, our scientists are working together in order to ensure the safety of Canadians. It's uppermost in their minds. We're looking at what is being done elsewhere in the world, but the decisions with regard to the safety of Canadians will be made by Canadian experts, as should be the case. The other thing is that people are eager to get to the starting line, to start vaccinating people. I understand, and we're doing our very best, but at the same time, we have to talk about when we'll reach the finish line. When will we have enough vaccine for everyone? And the announcement yesterday made by the doctors that we're expecting to be able to vaccinate the majority of Canadians before next September, well, it's very good news, and it is part of the reasons why we worked so hard to ensure that we get more doses per person in Canada than any other country, because we know that there are several companies developing these vaccines, and we want to ensure that no matter the best vaccine, the one that we obtain the quickest, we want to be well positioned. Christian Noël, Radio-Canada. The United States are saying that everyone there will be vaccinated between now and June. We're saying here that the majority of Canadians will be vaccinated between now and September. In the meantime, what impact will this have on our economy that we're not all vaccinated at the same time? And what will be the effect with regard to people's anxiety? We know that people are very anxious. We know that there are problems in that area, and we're thinking of the economy as well. But we've been there. The government has been there to support people with resources, with CERB, with assistance for small businesses, with help for small communities. We're going to continue to work with the provinces. We're also putting forward programs to help with mental health issues, to support people in their communities, to help them combat isolation. These are immense challenges that we're experiencing, but we know how to be there for each other in Canada. And as I stated, the Canadian government will continue to be there with you directly throughout the country. At the same time, we're doing our utmost to deliver quickly a safe vaccine. We want it to be delivered throughout the country, and we're going to continue to coordinate and work with the provinces and territories in order to achieve this. Major General Fortin has just been appointed. Other countries, as Annie stated, called upon their armed forces more quickly. This is going to be tricky. Are we going to be playing catch-up? Is it unfair to him to place him in this position? We've been working since May on vaccines. We've worked to coordinate the delivery of vaccines with the provinces. We're engaged in a strategy that has already delivered for Canada one of the best portfolios in the world with regard to access to various vaccines and with regard of the number of potential doses per individual, the highest number of any country in the world. We are doing our work. We have been working to prepare ourselves logistically. We can underscore the fact that things went very well. The federal government received our flu vaccines in the spring. We worked with all of the provinces in order for them to be able to deliver a record number of vaccines. There were challenges, clearly, but we did demonstrate our ability to vaccinate an awful lot of people, as we do every year. I'm very pleased to be able to announce that Major General Fortin will be in charge of this. But we've been working with the armed forces for a long time already on this very issue of mobilization to inoculate a record number of Canadians.
We've been working on vaccines since the spring with the provinces, with scientists, and reaching out around the world to different companies so that Canada has actually locked in the greatest diversity and the most diverse portfolio of vaccines of just about any country around, and the highest numbers of doses potentially per capita for Canadians, because we know that this is a new vaccine and there are many different approaches out there, and some are going to work better than others, and some are going to face speed bumps along the way that cause extra challenges. And we knew that creating an array of opportunities for Canadians was one of the best ways of making sure that we would get through this the best possible way. We've been working through the summer with experts on vaccinations and on vaccination programs. We've been collaborating with the Canadian Armed Forces and their logistical abilities for a long while now, and that's why I'm so pleased to announce Major General Denis Fortin, who is going to be working closely with PHAC on logistics and delivery of this greatest mobilization effort Canada has seen since the Second World War. We are on this. We are delivering. We are going to continue to do everything we need in partnership with the provinces and territories, without whom we're not going to be able to get vaccines out to everyone, because that's what Canadians expect of all of us.
Hi, Prime Minister. Tom Perry with CBC. You indicated this week we're not first in line for vaccines. That's going to go to the countries that are making it and themselves. Critics have said, well, that puts us last in line. So I'm wondering, where do you think Canada stands? If there's a lineup for vaccines, a global lineup for vaccines, where is Canada? Top 5, top 10? Where are we?
I know there's a lot of focus right now on when do we reach the starting line? When do we start vaccinating citizens? And certainly we're working very hard on that. But our perspective from the beginning has been create the best possible portfolio of vaccine producers so that we maximize our chances of having the right one, getting the one that is delivered quickest properly to Canadians. And that's what we've done. And as along the way, we actually secured more potential doses per citizen than any other country in the world. So we're going to continue to work, and that race to get to the starting line first, I can understand. But this pandemic doesn't get over until we reach the finish line. And that's why the news that Canadians can expect, if all goes well, to have more than half of us vaccinated by next September is significant positive news. And that's from the experts. That's not from me. And I'm very much looking forward to continuing to work with the provinces on delivering on vaccines for Canadians.
Do you think it is possible, though, to say where Canada ranks in terms of all the countries in the world, where we stand in this lineup for the vaccine?
I think there's going to be a lot of analysis after the fact on how different countries approached in their strategies, how they were able to deliver for their citizens. I look forward to that work being done, but right now our focus is on doing everything we can to help Canadians through this right now. We have a strong approach, a strong plan to do that, and we're going to stay focused on that.
Hello, Prime Minister. Mike Blanchfield, the Canadian Press. You talk about this finish line or the starting line or lines. As you know, the team from the Canadian Centre for Vaccinology at Dalhousie University was supposed to be starting some clinical trials on a vaccine in partnership with CanSino Biologics. Chinese government didn't allow those shipments to come to Canada months ago. So how did this failed arrangement affect the starting point there and Canada's search for a vaccine?
We knew that in searching for the right vaccine for COVID-19, which didn't exist, we needed to make sure that we weren't putting all our eggs in one basket, that we were looking for a range of vaccine candidates to make sure that whatever actually ended up delivering on the vaccine, Canada would have an agreement with. So we've reached out over the past many months, over the summer, to sign deals with 7 of the top potential producers around the world. We have access to even more through the COVAX International Facility on Vaccines, and we have made sure that Canadians would be well served by this vaccine strategy. We will continue to work on all the various promising vaccines out there and on getting them to Canadians. But we can know that the work that our experts, that our Minister of Procurement did on making us in a solid position to get through this should be something that Canadians can take pride and reassurance in.
When this is over, who are you going to hold accountable for this failed deal? And what's the biggest question on your mind right now that you want answered before you can authorize the first dose of a vaccine to a Canadian?
Well, I think the question we all have is it going to be safe? Is it going to be effective? That's what our scientists are looking at very, very carefully right now. And that's quite frankly why we knew that moving forward on a diverse range of options was our best chance. There are jurisdictions and countries around the world that have banked everything on one or maybe two different vaccines. We've got signed deals with 7 different vaccine makers and through COVAX facility access to up to 12 different vaccines. Whatever vaccines end up being the right ones to get through this pandemic, Canadians have a very good chance of having access to millions of doses of those. That's the work that we did as a government because we knew that securing vaccine access for Canadians, that ensuring the safety of those vaccines through the work of our top scientists and health officials is going to give people the confidence and reassurance to get through this as quickly as possible. Okay. Nous savons.
We know that the very first concern of everyone is the vaccine that we're going to distribute going to be safe and effective? The protection of people's health is our absolute priority. That's why our experts, our scientists at Health Canada are, yes, looking at what's going on elsewhere in the world, various studies, but they're also analyzing the data and carrying out verifications themselves, because we will only distribute a vaccine if it is deemed safe for Canadians. At the same time, because there was so much uncertainty as to which vaccine would be delivered, we chose to sign agreements with 7 different manufacturers to get comprehensive deliveries through COVAX, the COVAX facility. So depending on the vaccines that will be most effective, it is very likely that Canadians will have access to those vaccines because of the work the government has done since the summer. There are countries, places in the world that only have access to 1 or 2 different vaccines, and they're hoping that those will be the vaccines that will work. In Canada, we secured access to a broad array of vaccines so as to ensure that as soon as one of them is proven to work, as soon as one is proven to be safe and effective, we'll be able to deliver it to Canadians.
Merci tout le monde. Bonne fin de semaine.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.